Evening, boys and girls. Welcome to this one. God knows what I'm going to blather on about in this one, though. Oh, dear. Ah, that's the one. When I was tidying this garage up, buggering about moving stuff about, some guy waddled down my driveway. He's like, "Excuse us, mate, is that Jeep for sale?" Hyundai Terrican. I was like, "No." "Okay, no worries." He gets in his car and bugs off. And I believe that he's something to do with the property that I'm not fans with. Because he's always... I saw the car he was in. I saw the car he get in and bugger off. And it's always outside that house. Well, most of the time. So he's something to do with them. Whether he's doing work for them, whether he's, part of them, whatever. But he's always there. Say 5 days out of every 7. Could be weekends, could be weekdays. But this Fiat Stilo Estate, last time I saw it, the passenger side, the front and back tyres were effectively flat. And he didn't give a crap. I was like, "Look, I've got a foot pump, mate. Oh, it'll be fine. Go and get them sorted anyway." Hopped in it and buggered off. They were literally flat. And so he comes up asking me about my Terrican. I'm like, "No, it's not for sale. I'm not going to sell it to you." But no, I don't know whether I'll ever sell that, to be fair. I do have plans for it, same as the Jag, but the Jag's one of those things that after a while I would sell. The Terrican, I really like the Terrican. I shouldn't. In actual fact, the Terrican has got more wrong with it than the Jag. Mechanically speaking, I mean, body-wise and chassis-wise, the Terrican is made of really thick metal, so the chances of that rusting through are slim to none unless I park it in the sea. But mechanically speaking, that Terrican isn't exactly brilliant. Even though we've done the injector seals and all that kind of stuff, which is the next upload on Wearing Bearings, Dan and myself actually doing the injector seals, so you can watch that, you can see it happen. Even though we've done that, I damaged something else in that engine. It wasn't just the injector seals that failed, and if I've got to go to about 3,000 RPM, which for a 2.9 diesel Terrican, you've really got to just pin it to the floor. But when you get to about 3,000, it's and the engine light comes on. It's like, whoa, slow down. But it's no longer, there's no more diesel coming out of it. So it's not the injector seals that failed. There's something else wrong with that car. But again, using it for the local stuff I do, going backwards and forwards to work and stuff like that, you don't get to 3,000 RPM. Right, you just don't. It's an automatic. It changes about 2,400 naturally anyway, unless you pin it. So I'm not overly concerned. It doesn't overheat. It does use water though. The radiator coolant goes down quicker than when I had the Jag with a hole in the radiator. So there's definitely something wrong with that Terrican. But I don't know whether I'd ever sell it. It's one of those. I just like it. There's no reason to like it. It's not brilliant off-road. They're not bad off-road. Don't get me wrong. As long as you've got the right tyres on them. I mean, I've got road tyres on that at the moment, so it's got no chance. But they're not brilliant. They don't have a centre diff, which means when you go into four-wheel drive, you can only use it on slippery surfaces because you've effectively put a diff lock on. Now, if you're curious as to what that is, it means that every wheel will turn at the same speed. Okay, yeah, well should happen, shouldn't it, Bill? No. Each wheel should be able to turn at different speeds so that you can turn. The inside wheel will turn slower than the outside wheel. Yeah? With a diff lock, you turn, they both turn at the same speed. So it's effectively like just understeer. But the problem is, with a diff lock on, if you're steering with it, you can just lock everything up and obliterate the differential. It's really not good. So it's not really a 4x4 in that sense. It's like if you start to get a bit, stuck, bung it in 4 low or 4 high, whatever you want. And you've got 4 wheels to drive you out. Hopefully your front ones have got grip if your back ones don't, and that kind of stuff. But after you've done it, you've got to go back into 2 if you want to start turning. So it's not really like a Defender style off-roader or something like that, like a Land Rover. But they are pretty decent vehicles. They are pretty damn good. And they are pretty bomb-proof. Yes, I know that one's developed a bit of a fault, but what caused that was I'd got most of the way to work and realised that I'd forgot, my phone as well as my works bag. So I had nothing on me. And so I span round and I came back, and to say I was doing a good speed limit is an understatement. I was pinning the nits out of the damn thing, and they are not designed for that. I'm the one that screwed that up. And to be fair, I know the previous owner was a farmer, and he'd had a whoops-a-daisy front and back. Obviously, he'd hit the back when he was reversing, and he'd driven into a tree going forwards. And there's some DIY repairs on it, which is one of the reasons why he slung it. Because he'd done the DIY repairs and then he slung it, get a couple of quid and get something else, because he didn't really repair it properly. And some of the filler is, it's cracked. I'll take a photo before I go back in and you'll see what I'm talking about now. But yeah, as you can see, the filler has cracked and it's starting to come apart, and yes, there's a few things with that, but it's just, there's something about that vehicle. It's not full of frilly bits. It's not got all the stuff on it that this is perfect, like this is just. It's, the steering's loose as buggery. The brakes they'll stop you eventually. The entire experience is like being in a slightly more comfortable Defender. And I love Defender. I am a massive Defender fan. For example, the new Defender. I have no problems with the new Defender, other than the name. You're going to say it's not a Defender? Yeah. It's the next generation. Alright? Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, 9110, Defender. 9110 and Defender are the same, Bill. 90 and 110 was what? 1983 to 1990. The Defender name was launched 1990 onwards. So, technically, no. It's the next generation. It's the next iteration. So, this new one is the next in the bloodline. Okay? Series 1 ain't the Series 2, although there's very little difference. Series 2 is not the Series 3. Big difference. Series 3 is not the 90 or 110. Big difference. 9110 Defender, not the same thing, but very, very, very similar. Almost interchangeable. This one, big difference. So should it be called the Defender? No. It's the next in the bloodline. I would personally call it the Cerberus. Now, this year, I was hoping, there's a Land Rover dealership in Chelmsford I was going to go to, and I had been talking to them, but COVID's come along and it's obliterated it all. What I was hoping to do was to get one as a test drive to talk about this. Obviously I can't now, and by the time I can, and I will do it for wearing bearings, but by the time I can, I'm going to be so out of date it's almost pointless. What I was going to do was I was going to talk about it. I was going to talk about the differences, and I was going to call it the Cerberus. Cerberus, the multi-headed dog that guards the realm of the living from the realm of the dead, stopping the dead from coming into the realm of the living, is the myth. Yeah? So a defender of souls. Right? The Cerberus is a defender of the gates of the damned, of the gates of the dead. Right? So The perfect name. And of course, Land Rover are now talking about, what is it, the 5-litre V8, isn't it, that they're launching in the Defender range? The Cerberus. Yeah? 5-litre V8 fire-breathing version. The Cerberus. It's the next in the family line. It's got all the, the nods to its previous generations, all the way back to Series 1. But it's the next one. Yeah? And I'm just like, just because they've called it the Defender, it's like, what has happened to originality in my generation? Where's it gone? We're remaking TV sitcoms. We're relaunching TV sitcoms with some of the old geriatric actors in them. We're remaking films instead of making a sequel or making something, inspired by it. And even the Defender will end the Defender range, but we'll bring the Defender back. No, you won't. Alright? Because the Defender isn't the brand from the Series 1. The Defender was the next iteration. This is the next one. The child, the next generation. If you're going to call it Defender, it should be Defender Junior. You know what I mean? No. It's a brilliant bloody vehicle. I mean, Land Rover have gone above and beyond to honour the heritage. It's a fantastic bloody vehicle by all accounts. Very well built and very capable. But it shouldn't be called the Defender. Yeah? And the only reason I'm saying that on this channel, and obviously not on Wearing Bearings, is because by the time I get to actually do this, hopefully using a new Defender, and maybe an old Defender, it will be so out of date, it will be like, oh really? I'm going to do it just because I want to. But again, this year, chances are I'm not going to be able to. I might be able to later on. But it's just so aggravating for me. Because it's like, no, this is the next one. This is the next one. You can't call it the Defender. Because the one after the Series 1 was what? The Series 2. And the one after the Series 2 was what? The Series 3. And then you changed it again, it was the 90 or the 110. Then you changed it again, it became the Defender. Now you've changed it again. Yeah? Little bit of originality. And let's be honest, Cerberus, brilliant bloody name. Just brilliant. Yeah? But no. So that's the only thing I hold against the new one. It's, like I said, it's a fantastic vehicle. By all accounts, I've seen one at the local Defender one when they had the the demonstrators of what was going to be launched before COVID hit. And that's what I was trying to do, was to get a test drive, a 48-hour test drive. That blew out my ring piece, but oh well, such is life. But no, they're brilliantly built. I mean, seriously, if you're used to a Defender, a proper Defender, and you get in this new one, totally different. All the design cues there, all the nods there, including the handle for the passenger side. When you open the door and you got that little handle in the dash. It's all there, but it's just well built. So it's not a Defender. There's no rattles. So yeah, that's my personal thing with the new Defender. Is it should have been called the Cerberus. That would have been fantastic, wouldn't it? And it would have looked right as well. Well, think about it. Think about the idea of it, the multi-headed dog. Well, think about the Series 1 all the way through to the new one, right? The new Defender, right? All those different faces it's had throughout its life cycle. Multi-headed, yeah? Defending the dead from the realm of the living, or the living from the dead, It's your Defender, yeah? Do you see what I'm getting at? It'd be brilliant. The perfect name for the perfect vehicle to carry it. And what did they do? We'll call it the Defender. That just bugs the crap out of me. It really gets under my skin. It really does. Because the thing that irritates me is they've missed the perfect opportunity. You know, the Defender was retired. Nobody mourns the Series 1, or the Series 2, or the Series 3, or the fact the 90 and the 110 became the Defender. Nobody mourns that. Hell, you don't even mourn the fact that the Escort's now called a Focus. It's not. They're different cars. Yeah, it was an Americanisation so that Ford in America could just produce the Focus and, remove the Escort. The Focus is just an Escort, just redesigned. Seriously. Just because it existed in America before. It's like the Mondeo replaced the Sierra, so the Mondeo is effectively just a Sierra. Although the way it's styled these days, and the size of it, it's effectively the Granada, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's like the Audi A7. The Audi A7 looks like the next in the generation from the Rover SD1. Fight me. That's how original German Audi really is. We've got an A7. That just looks like it should have been a Rover SD1, sweetheart. To be fair, the Rover SD1 was actually a very good car. The police loved them. When Rover announced they were getting rid of the SD1, loads of local constabularies, they went out, the police brought loads of them, and they were using the SD1 for years after they'd taken them out. They were actually a good car. They were just produced in a crappy era. I think that's the problem. The Rover SD1 was a good car. The 3.5 V8 was a brilliant car. One of the most idolised engines ever made, really, that 3.5 V8, let's be honest. But it was just produced in a time where I'm better than everyone else. It was the Red Robbo days. Oh yeah, but you talk about strikes. Yeah, for the right reasons. Not just because, I'm anti-capitalist. No. Strike for the right reasons. Yes, you need better pay, but there's a way of getting better pay without crippling the company just because you don't agree with capitalistic ideology, which is ultimately what your company runs using. And if you go full bore flat out to get the greatest salary possible tomorrow morning, well, all the shareholders are going to lose money and they're going to pull their investment out. The company's going to collapse. So there's ways and means of doing it. Never, ever, ever confuse the Red Robbo union days with the kind of union action I would like to see. I mean, after the Great Recession at the end of the 20s, the massive depression, governments realised they needed to allow the workforce to unionise to get us to stand up for ourselves, to get better money, to get more money in our pockets, to spend in the economy, to rebuild the economy. That's how it all started. That's how it really got going. That industrial action was what sparked everything after the Great Recession. If you don't believe, look it up. That's where the workers started getting a lot more rights, because the governments realised that the wealthy elites up the top, they weren't just going to pay them more money. They weren't going to give them more money for decrease their profitability, but they needed that money getting into the economy, and they couldn't tax the money the guys already had. And trying to tax companies after the Great Depression was ultimately suicidal. So it was give the workers the rights to stand up to get more money in their pockets. The workers, they're not investors, they're not money savvy. They'll spend the money down the pub, down the local grocers, here, there and everywhere. They'll spend their money. More money in the economy starts off again. You don't believe me? Seriously, look it up. You're online. You've got Google. Yeah, that's the stuff I'm talking about. The gap between the rich and the poor. We lament it day in, day out. But your wage is ultimately a share of a company's profits. So if they're making a stupid amount of profit and you're making fuck all, well, think about it. Your wage is effectively a share of the company's profit. Okay, yeah, it's taxed differently. It's a tax deductible and stuff. But it is ultimately... Oh, think about this. Let's say I go out and buy a HGV, Class 1 unit, okay? And I get a contract. And I run that for a year and I make 60 grand. After all of my expenses, I personally make 60 grand. Then I get offered a second contract with the same company. So I buy another unit, employ a driver, yeah? And I'm being paid exactly the same. Both the contracts pay exactly the same. So that unit is going to generate me 60 grand. But I've got to pay the driver. Now, obviously, I've got to pay the driver. I've got to pay like employers, tax and stuff like that. Okay, when you're a small business, not so much. But you know what I'm getting at. So I've got to pay this. I've got to pay that. I've got to put in towards a pension, stuff like that. So I'm going to pay him 30 grand. He's going to cost me, say, 38 grand. Yeah, I'm making 22 grand. My brain went dead then. Oh, yeah, I'm making 22 grand. Right? So, effectively, his cost to me, 38 grand, his cost to me is a cut of the profit. And that's how a company operates. That's where your wage comes from. So if you're bitching and moaning about the boss of your company being so much more wealthier than you, that's because you're letting him take more of the money. You know, the government's way back when in the 30s realised that one. You know, I'm not talking about Red Robbo destroying capitalism. I quite like capitalism. Hate me if you want. But I'm talking about, okay, you're on 30 grand. You work for a company that posts 2, 3, 400 million pounds a quarter profits. You could be on a little bit more than 30 grand. Let's be fair. You know, let's be honest here. You could. Do you see what I'm getting at? But that's the stuff that I talk about. That's where I come from with all this unionised action, because I know I've been taken to task over it by somebody who just understands the union action of the 70s when the Rover SD1 was being built. Well, that was greed-driven hatred of capitalism. That was something totally different. You know? That was way different. The workforce of the time may have been like, well, yeah, we deserve more money. Yeah, we deserve this. Fine. But the drivers of it, that was an ideological thing. You know, they destroy it all. And of course, then you get into the problem of, well, you've destroyed your company. Now you're causing issues for the GDP. Now you're at odds with the government. So on and so forth. But yeah, no. There's ways and means of doing things. Unfortunately, everybody's greedy. Everyone. Hell, I try not to be to a degree, but I guarantee I am. Same as everyone else. We all have an element of greed within us, you know. If I can afford a 4-bedroom house, I'll have a 4-bedroom house instead of a 3-bedroom house. I don't need a 4-bedroom house, but you know, there's an element there. And again, I don't really need to live in the Essex countryside and pay what I pay in rent, but you know, I wanted to. I need to. There's an element in everything that we do. I mean, to be fair, if I started going to multiple different contracts, I could probably maintain my level of work, but might as well claim furlough, take some time off, and, like I said, work on myself, like I said in the previous one. So we all have an element of it. The problem is that when greed and hatred take over running a movement, it's the end of the movement. You know, that's the end of it. You're never going to achieve anything good in that situation. You can't. You've boxed yourself into a corner. You know, your leaders are directing you for their greed and their hatred. Even if you don't have a hatred of your boss, even if you think your boss is brilliant, you know, oh, my boss is great, he's been really good to me. Yeah, but the union turns around because they're driven with hate, he's a capitalist, yeah, and they're driven with greed. Well, you know, he shouldn't have as much money as he does, so we should take all of it. No, no, the company is floated. It's on the market. You know, you've got to be able to get a return for your investment. Otherwise, your company can't generate the investment to expand and keep you employed. So they've got to make profit. They've got to be profitable. But it's the level of profit that we always screw up. Yeah, 300 million a quarter. Really? Do you really need that? Well, yeah, because, you know, I can raise a lot more money to expand. But you've got 300 million every 3 months. You know, your workforce on the other hand, you know, they're starving, they're living in crap areas, and they've got no future, no hope, no nothing. And they're working all the hours God sends to earn nothing. That's taking the piss. Yeah? But the fight against that is not taking the piss. Yeah? I mean, if the average wage is, 30 odd grand a year, and the average wage given house prices and living costs should be around 50 or 54 grand a year, it's not quite double your wage. So the wage bill wouldn't actually double. Yeah? So the profits wouldn't drop more than, say, a half. So they're still very profitable. I'm just saying. It's just our concept of profit is bonkers. You know, you're not profitable unless you're billions a year. Pardon? But, huh? Do you see what I'm getting at? Our concept of it is insane. It's, and unfortunately, we've gone too far down that road now, and it is. I don't even all the stuff that's been talked about this COVID-19. Oh, everything's going to change. No, it's not. I mean, look at what happens at the moment. At point of recording, on the 22nd of May, we've only just allowed us to go out for a little bit further to exercise. We've only just allowed us to go and see one of our friends from a different household, as long as we respect social distancing. We've only just started doing that. Southend Front's filled up, Brighton's filled up. Everybody and their mother are having car shows up in Cumbria and being sent back home. People are buggering off to their second homes. You really think that we're going to suddenly change society when COVID is when the lockdown is eventually fully removed? No. There's been a couple little changes this week, and we've gone back to almost virtually normal. So where was all this talk about how society was going to change, how there was going to be a new normal? Where's that gone? We had an opportunity. Buggered off, didn't it? Oh, well, I can get down the beach. I can get back to work. What about all the people who've been working from home perfectly successfully? Oh, well, I can get back to work. Why? Why do you have to be commuting? Why do you have to be adding carbon to our environment? Every other toxic gas, not just carbon. You know, carbon isn't really toxic, let's be fair, but every other, NOx gas and so on and so forth. Why do you have to be adding emissions? Yeah? If you can work from home successfully, productively, and how your company needs you to do your job, why the fuck are you going back to work? Why can't you stay working at home? You'll get more sleep because you don't have to get up earlier for commuting. Yeah? You'll lower your footprint, your emissions footprint overall, which over a fair few million people is quite a bit. Yeah? You won't have to sit in these endless traffic jams. Congestion will ease. So why are you buggering off back to work? I thought society was going to change. Oh, it hasn't. We are our own worst enemy. Because we just don't hold employers to account anymore. We just don't. Unless we get killed and our family does it for us, we don't do it. I mean, think about it. You spend, if you work in London and you live in the home counties, chances are, if you're starting at 8 a.m, you're leaving your house at 6 a.m. Yeah? And if you're finishing at 5, you're not back until at least 7. But you could do your work at home, which means you'd have a couple of extra hours in bed. So you get the right amount of sleep, your mental health would improve, yeah? Depression would decrease. Are we doing it? Or are we fucked? Why? I mean, why? Even Facebook, even Mark Zuckerberg's come out, he said, oh, it will take 10 years and about half of our staff will probably just work from home. Facebook is literally online. Why only half? Security for the servers, couple of server rooms, some cleaners, some bits and bobs like that. Maybe some on-site programmers. But everybody else... Why is it going to take 10 years for a company like Facebook to have, what, half of their staff working from home? It's just online. It literally doesn't exist. We are literally our own worst enemy. Conditioned to believe you've got to go out to work. Yeah, fat idiots like me who drive a truck, we have to. But anyway, I think I ranted a little bit there. So, thanks for watching this one. Like, subscribe, share about. Do all the other bollocks that you usually do. I'll see you in the next one. I'll finish this, get another beer, and I'll record it now. See you later.